Good morning. My name is Paul, and I thoroughly enjoy being an alcoholic. I enjoy it since you found me and sobered me up and cleaned me up and convinced me that you'll keep me sober another 20 years as long as I keep doing the thing, helping you do the things you're doing. And God Almighty, I used to think it would be difficult to stay sober. Can you think of anything easier than staying sober this last week here? Uh, This is just a beautiful day and a beautiful way to stay sober. Have you had a good time? If you haven't enjoyed yourself, you know who to blame, don't you? It's your own damn fault. I thought it was terrific. In fact, the only things I enjoy about it is this is the home stretch, and it's been such a great weekend. It's surely nothing I can do to screw it up. Too bad now. Or they could have got along very well without Max telling that perverted version of my story. That's why, you know. But last night I noticed too that Joe was making fun of the Al-Anon. People were laughing at the Al-Anon. I don't think we should do that. I don't really think we should laugh at the Al-Anon. Well, thank you, Al-Anon. I knew there was some Al-Anon beer. I can feel the vibration. But you shouldn't. But no, you shouldn't laugh. You should not laugh at the Al-Anon stuff. No, you really shouldn't. Now, Our book speaks very kindly of them. It said they're not at fault. They seem to have been born that way. You shouldn't laugh now. As a matter of fact, there are. In fact, no, you should look into that Al-Anon program. I understand that I've been talking to people over the weekend. And there are a few people around that have a little trouble making our program. And the Al-Anon program, it has all of our steps. As you notice, with all our steps, they have our traditions. They stole some of our slogans. Sometimes they even read some of the book, and they have our whole program. They've got the whole thing. So they can drink too. Now, it might be just what some of you are looking for. It is true that we get some of our best customers from Al-Anon, and we really got them fooled. We have them convinced that when they come to AA, it's a step up. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Then you know, if you're new in AA, you realize you are already at the bottom of the social ladder. It's not, you can any place you go from AA is up, but it's not up to from Al-Anon. And as a matter of fact, if you really want to insult an alcoholic who's really going crazy in a relationship with another alcoholic, you can just that they go to Al-Anon. Go to Al? I'd rather go crazy, you know. Anyway, I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad you're all here. It sure be dull that you weren't here. Uh, I said I was glad to be. I haven't always been glad to be an alcoholic. As a matter of fact, I haven't even always been an alcoholic. God, I wouldn't want you to think that. Uh, in fact, I certainly wasn't alcoholic when because they came here. I didn't came here. I was sent here. Uh, I wasn't even sent here. It was just that this was the only place I could come to get a pass to get off the nut ward. Uh, I was on the nut ward of the hospital. I was on the staff of, and look, it's a very boring place to be. I mean, in fact, I didn't know how to act on on the nut ward. I knew how to act at the if I had a stethoscope and acting as a doctor. They teach you that in medical school, but they don't teach you in medical school how to act on the nut ward when you're on the wrong end of the stethoscope. It was very boring. I went around. I tried to help the other patients. Some of them acted like they didn't even want any help, but it's a very boring place. You have a hard time finding things to do. They had a weird theory there. They had a strange theory on that network. they tried to convince me that the quality of my life would be improved if I learned how to make leather belts. Yeah. That made no sense to me at all. I don't know how my life would be improved in any way if I learned how to make leather belts. I didn't understand the theory, and besides, I didn't understand the instructions. Yeah, but that was not my fault. I've always known that if you don't understand a thing well enough that you can explain it to me so that I understand, then you don't really understand it all that well. And that stupid occupational therapist had already explained it to me 3 times, and I wasn't going to embarrass her by asking her a fourth time. And that was a strange thing too. I went to this AA meetings just to get off the network, and I've been to every AA function I can think of since. I love to go to AA functions, roundup, conferences, conventions, even social events, anything. And yet I've never been to one yet where they had a occupational therapy booth. You know, and yet for some reason or other, I went to a few of these AA meetings, and I went back to that nut ward, and I made the most beautiful pair of moccasins you've ever seen. Pair of moccasins and a half a wallet. Yeah. And the moccasins were terrific. They were good moccasins. They really looked good, and the workmanship was terrific, and they felt good, and they wore good. I used to wear them every chance I got. And when the tongues would break, I'd repair them and patch them up. And they 7 years lasted 7 years. I was able to wear those moccasins every chance I got. Even when they wore out, I felt bad. Uh, Not bad enough to go back and make another pair, but I mean, but I did enjoy the moccasins. Apparently, as a matter of fact, Max apparently was concerned about my maybe going back and get another pair because for my seventh AA birthday, she had my moccasins bronze. And, and I love my bronze moccasins. I just think they're terrific. As long as I remember where they came from, I won't have to go back and make another pair. I just love them, even though they're not nearly as comfortable anymore. Very, they- but anyway, as I say, I wasn't an alcoholic when I would start going to these meetings, and I didn't become an alcoholic till I'd become these meetings for 7 months. That's where you get alcoholism. You get it in meetings like this. It's a contagious disease. People think you get it by what you put in your mouth. No, it's what you by what you let go in your ears. If you're here today and you're not really, really, really an alcoholic, be real careful what you listen to. Uh, it's a contagious thing. We pick it up in places like that's why I always identify all the alcoholics. I always say, "Oh, please raise your hand," and you can't speak unless you identify yourself as an alcoholic. That's so that if somebody gets the disease, they can't blame you and say they weren't warned. In fact, it's the alcoholic card. In fact, you go down to the local bar, one of these places, walk in, say, "I'm running a survey. Will all the alcoholics please raise their hand?" You won't get the same response there. In fact, they won't even think you're very damn funny. Yeah. Not in the alcoholics in this bar. The alcoholics are all in meetings. And Sunday morning at meetings. And that's just this is where I got my disease. I came to one meeting 2 minutes. I wasn't alcoholic at all when I came here. And after 7 months, I was just alcoholic enough to stay. And I became more alcoholic since. Uh, in fact, I think I'm a lot more alcoholic today. In fact, everything I see with all the research workers, God bless the AA research workers. They keep testing the waters out there. See if it's any safer to drink now than it was when I came in. And from what I see, I'm more alcoholic now and more allergic to alcohol now than I was when I quit drinking. And I don't intend to test that theory. I'm just willing to let them test it. What happens. I've never seen one of them yet come back and say if they found anything better. The alcohol's working on them any better than it was. I always did feel that I reacted abnormally or unusually to the drug alcohol. And that's not difficult for me to conceive of. I've been around medicine since I was 4 years old, and every medicine I know. I grew up in the drugstore, and then I ended up in medical school. I ended up as a pharmacist first, and I didn't like being a pharmacist. People didn't seem to think that was such a big deal. People weren't very impressed with me having a pharmacy degree. I thought they'd be more impressed if I had a medical degree, but with depression, and my family didn't want me to be a doctor, they wanted to stay home and work in the family drugstore, so there was no money or funds for me to become a doctor. So my answer to that problem was to marry the girl next door and suggest she work my way through medical school. And he did, and I did, and I got a doctor, but people weren't very impressed with that either. And I thought they'd be more impressed with that specialty degree. So I said, you're doing a good job, kid. You keep on working, and we'll get us a specialty degree. And he did, and I did, and I specialized in internal medicine. That's where you treat the medical problems of adults. We don't do any surgery, can't stand the sight of blood. Yeah. Don't treat any kids, can't stand kids, for God's sake. You just treat adults, and that's all adults want when they come to life. They want two things. They want a label. They want to know what's wrong with me, doc. You know, give them a name. You got icus to the bigot. Oh, I got icus to the bigot. Thank you. Now, what are you going to give me for it? They want the other thing. They want a label and they want a pill, a label and a prescription. And that was my specialty. I was good at that. No matter what was wrong with you, I could give it a name, and I had a pill for it. I had a pill for every ill, and it happened that I was sick a lot, and I built up a real big practice, very ethical practice. We even had my own version of the Hippocratic Oath in that I never ever gave a patient a pill that I hadn't first tried out on myself. The way you laugh, it would sound like you thought I abused them, and I never abused any pills. And in fact, you ask any doctor at all, ask any doctor how the patient got hooked on his pills, and it'll always be the same. It'll always be the same. They abused their pills. They abused them. I never abused it. In fact, I didn't even know how you abuse pills. You throw them against the wall, back on them, and abuse them up there. I know physical abuse and verbal abuse, but I never abused any pills. In fact, I had own little pocket. I had a little pocket that I carry the pill through with. You have to be very careful where you carry your pills. You know, you can't carry them in with your change. Somebody say you got change for 4. You say, "Oh yeah, here you go." And you go, and I say, "Oh, you're carrying empties all around your hand." Yeah. But you put them over this pocket, and you go to get the keys to get in your car. And you go like that, and you throw. Oh, you throw Quaalude running down the hall. You know. You put them in your shirt pocket when you're not wearing a sweater, and then you see the going off right through the shirt. Or you bend over and they fall out. So you keep them in this little pill pocket. And I treated my pills with respect. Never became, never abused them, and they were just tiny little pills. And I never abused them. I never became a pill head. A pill head take pills to get high or to get loaded or something. I like to taste them or something. I don't know. I never did that. I never ever took a pill unless I had the symptom that only that pill would relieve. I had the symptom. I either had it or I could do it coming on. And it was, what, that's true. Every pill I ever took was medically indicated at the time when taken according to directions and prescribed by a doctor and dispensed by a pharmacist. I bought my pills, like Max, I bought my pills by the thousand. Can you imagine that woman buying a thousand Librium and taking one a day? Why? Why would anybody take one a day? That's like somebody that had one drink, for God's sake. You can tell she's weird. Oh, but I couldn't talk to her, and that's just fine. She's terrific. As a matter of fact, less than a month, the second of next month, Max and I will celebrate I don't know, celebrate, but we will have our 48th wedding anniversary. Ooh. Likely, we will have been emotionally involved to very varying degrees of intensity. We'll have been involved with each other for over 60 years. And who is right? You know, yeah. Matter of fact, as I've often said, the young people today, they just don't have what it takes to put together a relationship like that. Young people, they don't. don't have what it takes. It's put together that kind of relation. They don't have it. For one thing, you've got to be very, very old. It's kind of like my friend Angie says, there's only two rules to becoming an old timer in AA. Only two rules. Don't drink, don't die. You know, hang in there, maybe you can make it. I started to say something about being reacting to drugs peculiarly. And all drugs are like that way. Every drug's the same. All drugs are the same. Everybody reacts to them exactly the same as everybody else, except for the people that react differently. And everybody can take aspirin, except people can't. Anybody can take penicillin, except people are allergic to it. It used to be you get penicillin by cot, and give somebody a cot of penicillin, turn around, lay the truth down, they drop dead. If you're sensitive to that stuff. He's a weak-willed son of a bitch, isn't he? Yeah. Wouldn't you think if he couldn't handle it any better than that, they'd just leave it alone? All drugs are like that, and that's where I am with alcohol. I would drink alcohol. Of course, I drank alcohol. Everybody drinks alcohol. This country, we all just a drinking society. Everybody drinks. You have to drink. You couldn't be invited any place if you didn't drink. Nobody wants you. What do they call your wedding for? That's what they have you come and celebrate and things like that. And you have to drink. Except sometimes when I drank, I would end up getting accidentally drunk. And there was I used to go to church dinner dances. I hate church dinner dances. I hate church. A lot of people there. You have to talk to them. I don't know how to talk to people. They have to dance. You can't not dance at a church dinner dance, but you can't just sit there because there's always some hyperactive woman comes running up to you and says, let's dance. I don't dance. They, oh, sure you do, right? You out on the floor. And prove that you don't dance. Yeah. So you can't not dance. And I used to have a few drinks before I go. It relaxed me physically, and I could dance. Dance good. Relaxed me mentally, and I could talk to people. But it seems like as time went by, the shoe got out of sync. And I would maybe not even have begun to relax mentally yet. I'd get too relaxed physically. It affect my tongue or my mouth or something. And I might speak, and I would talk very slowly and deliberately so nobody would notice. Would trip and stumble, or I would trip when there was nothing to. I would find myself lying on the floor. What in my mind? My brain would say, "Get up, you fool! People will think you're drunk." My body would say, "What do you mean, get up? We're paralyzed from the ears down." And I'm not there thinking, isn't that strange that I'm paralyzed? I can't move. Isn't that odd that we can't move here? And I thought, isn't that odd that alcohol affects us that way? Yeah. And I've laid there and mentally, I would leaf through the pages of Goodman and Gilman's textbook of pharmacology under ethanolism, looking for toxicology of ethanol effects out that I never could find. Paralysis from the ears down. And someday I'm going to have to ask somebody about that. Why I react so peculiarly to this drug. And I never found anybody to ask. You don't ask questions like that because they're liable to tell you real impractical things like, well, if it makes you paralyzed, don't drink it, and I didn't want that kind of an answer, but I'd lie there and think about it, and I'd figure out why I react so peculiarly. In fact, it was kind of, being a scientific bend, it was kind of interesting. It gave me something to think about, take my mind off my full bladder. Already. It's a bad combination. Whenever I was paralyzed from the ears down, I always had a full bladder. Yeah. A bladder that absolutely refused to remain full. And not a practical combination. And somebody asked me this morning, was I going to talk about my dog? I said, what about my dog? He said, the one that used to come home from the veterinarian with a message that all he needed was more love. And I remember I didn't. Max was going to the psychiatrist. My kids were going to clinical psychologists. It was all kind of classy and modern and hefty. You're supposed to do that if you're really interested in your family. Take good care of them. That was fine, but it really hurt my feelings that this dumb cat and dog doctor was think I had a neurotic dog. And I remember telling her, I said, "You tell that idiot cat and dog doctor he's no psychiatrist. All I want to know is why is the dog wet in my pants when I'm holding it?" Strangely enough, that dog hasn't wet my pants since I joined AA. And neither have I. And we're both getting better. And the other thing about this drinking, sometimes I was relaxed physically. I wouldn't have even begun to relax physically, and I get too relaxed mentally. It's as if alcohol was the solvent that dissolved all the adhesiveness that held all my brain cells together. And my mind, morally and emotionally, just went, and I fell apart. And I would be like I would be drinking, and my brain cells would all get together and they say, "Oh, what the hell? He's drinking anyhow. Let's take the night off." And then go on home, go to bed, and my body go on doing things. And in the morning, I try to figure out what my body had been doing when my brain was home in bed, and I never did figure out how to recall things that weren't recorded at the time that they happened to me. Seems in retrospect that the longer I drank, the harder it was for me to predict what was going to happen when I drank. But that didn't keep me from drinking. I turned my will and my life over to care of alcohol day after day. And alcohol and pills and drugs. But every time, way back in pharmacy school, I found out I didn't have a drinking problem, I had a sleeping problem. I found out that I couldn't sleep at night. It was just critical that I sleep at night. There was something horrible would happen if I laid there awake at night. I'd go to school all day, work at the drugstore all evening, study till midnight, 1, 2 o'clock, go to bed. But by then I'd be half awake and half asleep, and in the morning I'd be both tired and stupid. And I found out that I could drink a couple of beers at the end of the study period, jump in bed, sleep real fast, and wake up smart. And I got honored grades in pharmacy school, and honored grades in medical school, and did all these things. But the moment I couldn't use sleeping pills because they didn't work for the next day. But a couple of beers just worked fine. But I didn't realize that when I drank in order to get to sleep, I was now using a chemical in order to solve a living problem. That's not social drinking when you're using alcohol to solve a living problem. And it's better living through chemistry. That's what it is. And and I found that through the years, every time I used the chemical to solve living problems, it worked. The only problem was that as it worked for a shorter and shorter period of time and had to be repeated, or it took more and more of it to get the same effect. And also, it had a side effect, which meant that I had to take some other chemical to counteract the side effects of the one I was taking, so that my disease was progressive in all three of those categories. And that's why I had to switch to other pills. I remember that the more I took in order to sleep at night, the harder it was to get up in the morning. So I had to take pep pills to get up in the morning. And I'm very good at the pep pills, no, appetite teethers, we call them. And I started with and had the upper and a downer in it. And one day I said to myself, "Why are you taking a pill with a downer in it when you're trying to get up or so?" That the downer out was taking straight amphetamine. And I didn't very indebted to them because I don't know that I would have had the stamina to stay out there and complete all of my pre-AA training period if it hadn't been for the pep pills. And they were fine. They did affect my hearing, and that sometimes I couldn't listen fast enough to hear what I was saying. But uh, I would find myself saying something, and I think to myself, "What the hell are you saying that again for? You've already said it 3 times." I don't know. It just sounds so good. I think I'll say it again. Blah blah blah. I don't talk about it anymore because the women live. People get after me, but it's a true story. And anything I say in AA is true as I remember. Anytime my life reaches the point where I have to make up stories to tell in AA, it'd be something. But I remember I used to do a lot of physical examinations, and when I examine men, I have them take off everything but their shorts. When I examine women, I have them take off everything, and I give them those feet with 2 holes, and they stick their arms through, and the feet hang down from them. They feel like they got something on. And they're sitting on the table facing this way, and I'm standing on this side, and I examine their eye, ears, nose, throat. I take a look back again, I drop it down. Immediately put my right hand over the left breast, and I say to her, I always say the same thing. I always say, "You examine your breast regularly for lumps." One of two things happen. They either think to themselves, my last doctor told me to do that, and I used to do that, but I never found any lumps, so I decided I wasn't doing it right, so I stopped doing it, but I ought to be doing that. Or else they think, my last doctor told me to do that, but I don't want any lumps in my breast, so I've never done that, but I ought to be doing it. But either way, they're thinking the scientific aspect of why some man is standing there with his hands on their breast. So I just never put my hands on a woman's breast without saying, you're examining your breast regularly for lumps here. And it's always worked very well for me. Except this one day I went to work and I wasn't feeling at all well that morning. As I recall, I had the flu again, and I took some extra pep pills, and I was examining this gal who was small. It wasn't that she was short, small. It's that she was not. She was small. She wasn't well endowed in the breast department. And I examined her eyes, ears, nose, throat, neck. The little plastic dropped down. Put my right hand over her left nubbin, and I looked at her very solicitously, and I said, "Do you examine your lumps regularly for breast?" I've often wondered whatever happened to her. I have a feeling I'm going to meet her in AA someday. So I ended up in the nut ward, and from there I went to some of those A&A meetings, and I thought I'd go to enough of them to get the passes or to get enough brownie points to get out of the nut ward. Because happiness on the nut ward is having a happy psychiatrist. You do almost anything. They have a certain element of control over you. And I did. Win my discharge button and got out. I had no intentions of going back to the thing. But as Max was saying this morning, she liked the meetings. And once I found out she liked them, then I could use that against her because then if she acted smart, then I would decide I wasn't going to go to the meeting anymore on Saturday night. And I don't know if you've ever tried. She went off. She did something she couldn't do. She got in the car and drove down to Laguna Beach from Anaheim on the freeways and all that stuff, which she couldn't do. But I don't know if you ever tried that, staying home one Saturday night drinking while your non-alcoholic wife is off laughing it up at the AA meeting. I found it kind of boring, and I'm the one who, when I had a convulsion and took me to the hospital, I wouldn't stay unless she stayed there in the bed next to me. And you picture that, this big shot doctor as a patient in the hospital he's on the staff of, and he won't stay overnight unless his mommy wife stays with him. So very independent, but very dependent. And so I went back to the meetings just to be with her. In 7 months, I turned into an alcoholic. And there were a lot of things that happened that caused that. One was that I heard somebody say they said it themselves. They said I was judging me by my intentions, and the world was judging me by my actions. And I was sorry they said that. Because I am one of the best intentioned people you'll ever meet. But if I looked at just my actions, I didn't like what I saw. And it was about that time that it was very important. I think it was right about that time that somebody said, put it right up. They said, I'd rather be in AA by mistake than out there by mistake. And that has affected my program to this day. Because at that time I was making lists of things that you had done that I hadn't done, that I thought once the list was long enough would somehow prove that indeed you were alcoholic, but certainly I wasn't. You couldn't not do all those things that you've done. You'd still be alcoholic. And I was also making a list of things that were wrong with AA because I realized that once you knew I didn't belong here, you'd ask me what I thought of it as I was leaving. And as a matter of fact, I still have both lists, and even where they are, nobody's asked me for them. But I'm really impressed. Yeah, I really this is a disease, and it's I'm fascinated by what this disease does to those of us who are allergic to alcohol. Just fascinated by drunk alcohol. You're fascinated by what alcohol. Not only to us who have the allergy, but those who love those of us who have the allergy. I enjoy not only the drunk alcohols, but the Al-Anon-alongs. There's anything more fascinating than what alcohol does to us. What's even more fascinating is the recovery. Recovery. It's the only disease I know wherein when we get well, we're weller than we were before we got sick. We get weller than well. It's fascinating. I keep coming back to these meetings just to hear the stories of what's going on. Even one keep me sober just because it's fascinating what happens. It's some of the fascinating disease I've ever studied, and I really enjoy it. I enjoy what's going on here. I enjoy. In fact, I was reading some of the AA statistics, and I find that fascinating. That as a matter of fact, when I was in the nut ward, I was in the rush center. Now, they don't call it the Rush Center because people are rushing to get in. They call it the Rush Center after Benjamin Rush. Benjamin Rush was a psychiatrist, a very, very common suggestion that alcohol should be stopped totally and permanently. One thing we say all along, and but we do it a day at a time. But anyway, and that has nothing to do with it except this Dr. Silkworth, who was the doctor for Bill Wilson, was also believed that alcoholism was the disease. And indeed, we might not even be meeting here today if Silkworth hadn't been able to convince Bill Wilson that it was the disease that he had rather than a moral issue, a matter of intellect or willpower. And so it's a medical problem. And it was Ebby and the Oxford movement that Ebby and Bill Wilson both belonged to, that they came to realize that it was a spiritual recovery. We have a medical problem with spiritual recovery. Two factors. Medical problem with spiritual recovery. And it was Bill Wilson who added the third element. He thought it's a medical problem with spiritual recovery. Maybe if I give it away, we can both keep it. Because that was a part of the Oxford movement, to go out and just convince other people. So he took his idea of it being a medical problem, spiritual answer, and I'll give it away to other alcoholics who both stay sober. He ran around finding drunks and telling them about his spiritual recovery. Understand there were 70 some. None of them stayed sober, wasn't working. He was disappointed. He was complaining to his wife Lois. His idea didn't work, and none of them were staying sober. He said something to the effect, "Well, it is working, stupid. You're sober." And he said, "Oh, yeah." And he was about to leave for Akron. He was about to go to Akron. He was complaining to Dr. Silkworth that nothing wasn't working, his idea. And Silkworth said, "Don't stress the spiritual recovery as the first thing. Stress the medical problem first, but it is the disease. It's a medical problem. Then the spiritual answer. We see if that works." He says, "I'll try it." He went to Akron. First drunk he tried it on, it worked. And AA was born. It turned out that first drunk that he talked to that worked with was a physician. And God, in his infinite sense of humor, saw that physician was a proctologist, a specialist in rectal pain. We might not be here today if that hadn't been the case, And I find that, that idea of giving it away to keep it is essentially the whole thing, it seems to me. It seems to me that it's a very loving thing to give it away. It's a very loving thing to just listen to somebody giving it away. You're doing it now, just sitting and listening. Sitting and listening. That's a very loving thing to do. To me, it doesn't matter what the speaker is saying or how it's going. You sit there and listen. Yeah. Doesn't matter. I've seen you do it. I know you just sit there and listen. It's a very loving thing. And by you sitting there and listening, and I talk, it helps. I'm trying to help you stay sober, and you're helping me stay sober. Everybody got up and walked out. We don't walk out on people that are talking, no matter what they're saying, because if we did that, the person that's talking might end up getting drunk. Stay sober. So listen. And that communication seems to be the space. I've been trying to make a hobby of learning more and more about how to communicate. It's not only communicating with people in AA, communicating with people out there, communicating with each other, and communicating with my higher power. And it seems to be the whole. I have a theory. Actually, it's not a theory. I happen to know what makes an alcoholic an alcoholic. But I don't tell people about it because I don't want them to argue with me. My mind is made up. I don't want to know any facts. It's it's called the pathophysiology of a disease. What causes the disease? What makes an alcoholic an alcoholic? Well, let me tell you. Don't tell anybody else, but I'll tell you. An alcoholic is a person who has a tremendous capacity to generate love and an incapacity to express love. So the alcoholic generates this love, and it builds up with the pressure, and it can't be expressed. It's like pressure in a tea kettle. It keeps building up, and it can't be relieved. Chemical alcohol is poured in, and it seems to relieve the pressure, but it doesn't. It only gives the impression of it helping. It's actually making it worse. It worsens the communication problem, and the love can't be expressed, and the pressure builds up, and it gets worse and worse. And even the people they can't only can't give love, they can't receive love, so that the people that love us can't express their love for us, and they begin to get screwed up. They can't express their love either. And the pressure then builds up in them. And as the pressure gets worse, it comes out not as love, but as hostility, anger, frustration, resentment, all the negative emotions, even violence. There's no answer to that. There's no answer to that. A person needs to express love and can't. What happens? Through no good judgment on their own, they end up in AA. And in AA, what do we do with the newcomer? We love the hell out of them. We just love the hell out. When we take them in, we don't care who they are, where they've been, what they've done, what they haven't done. We just love them. We don't care if they want to be loved or not. We just love them anyhow. Yeah. And what happens? They start acting loving. They start getting somebody else a cup of coffee. They smile at somebody across the room. They take hands. They remember somebody's name. And that makes sense. They do these things that are acts of love that aren't even recognized as acts of love. And the word love isn't even mentioned. And it ends up the newcomer in a matter of days, weeks, months, they're sobered. They don't even know why. But they've been acting loving. And we literally love the hell out of hellish lives. And see, that's the way AA works. And this idea of communicating is that Max was talking about this morning. It's a very loving thing to try to communicate with the person you're living with or the people in your own home. It's fun to try to treat the people in our home the way AA treats newcomers. Wouldn't it be great if we could treat everybody we meet throughout our life as newcomers, the way AA treats newcomers? And I even try to do loving things. I remember a woman in our morning meeting said that she wanted to be more loving, so she asked her sponsor how she could be more loving. And sponsor said, "Don't try to be more loving." She said, "Don't try to do loving things." She said, "Stop doing something unloving." Well, she always hated to. She's always yelling at her kids. Always yelling at her kids. She yelled at the kids the most when she picked up the papers, morning paper, scattered all over the house, picked it up, yelling at the kids. She made up her mind. From now on, she wasn't going to yell at the kids when she picked up papers. Yell at them all the rest of the time, but she wasn't going to yell at them when she picked up papers. She got in the habit of picking up papers, not yelling at the kids, but she's picking them up, and she felt so good about it. She was looking for other things she could do and not yell at the kids. And so I find it just looking for little things. For these little things that are seem loving, for instance, like Max likes. I was going to say Max likes to wake up to a hot cup of coffee. Getting Max a cup of coffee in the morning. Let me say this. Chuck C. always used to say that love was doing things for free and for fun, expecting nothing in return. I thought that was kind of stupid. And because I always knew that marriage, for instance, was the 50-50 proposition. That was one of the dumbest things I ever learned in my life, that marriage is the 50-50 proposition. Because I spent all my life checking the balance to see what was happening. A lot of times I wouldn't put something loving on the balance, and I couldn't because Mac didn't put anything on for a long time. Finally I'd put something on the balance, then I couldn't put anything more on until I'd see what she was going to put on. Might be a long time. Finally she put something on. And was that 50%? I don't think that was 50%, and I take some of mine off. Love's not a 50-50 proposition. Marriage isn't a 50-50. Love is a 100%. 100%. You do it for free and for fun, expecting nothing in return. Even if you expect a expect them to appreciate it. And it's not love, it's barter. be expecting I'll do this for you if you appreciate it, and then later on you do something for me. So Dana, Max likes to wake up to a hot cup of coffee. Truth is, she doesn't like to wake up at all. She hates to wake up. When she does wake up, she likes to look over to the left and see a cup of coffee on her bedside table. She doesn't like hot coffee. I doesn't like cold hot coffee. She likes a cup of hot coffee with 3 ice cubes in it. It's actually be able to see the ice cubes in it. If the ice cubes have melted, it starts your day off with a problem right there. You know, did you put the ice cubes in this coffee? Like, see the ice cubes in the thing. I get up before Max. I always get up before Max, and I don't know where she stores all the sleep she gets. But I get up before Max, and I go and I take care of the dogs. And one of the things I do in most mornings, I sit down on my computer. I do a lot of automatic writing. Automatic writing. I used to do it, the pen and pencil, and then I got to do it. I taught myself to type, and I love to type. I just love to see the words coming out on the typewriter. I've graduated since to a computer. And I type a letter to God and say, "Dear God, here we go again. Let's see what you can do with this one. You've been doing a pretty good job. Just keep on doing what you're doing. Be sure you have a real good day, because I think if you have a good day, I'll probably have a good day. So let's keep going." And I just type as fast as I can. So, they're not stopping to correct anything. For God's sake, don't stop and read it. Just keep going, type as fast as you can. And it's interesting, the answers, the intuitive answers, the decisions, the things I need to know that come to my mind as I'm typing the stuff they got. Most profitable things I do in that sense, in talking to God. And there's intuitive answers come. And at the end, I get through and I decide it's time to get Max's coffee. And I will say to the computer, I want to quit. My computer says, fine. You want to save this? Yes or no? And I say no, and poof, it's gone. It goes for all 5 steps. So it's just gone. And then I decide it's time to go get Max her coffee, and I go get a cup. She has a particular kind of cup she likes. And I get it. She doesn't like brewed coffee. She likes instant coffee, like any instant coffee, as long as it's U-Ben. And she likes just a level teaspoonful of U-Ben coffee. And U-Ben, she likes and she doesn't like cream. Well, she hates milk. She likes powdered cream, kind of cream more. Likes lots of that. 2 heaping teaspoonful of cream more, level teaspoonful of U-Ben. And you fill the cup with hot water. You don't boil the water. You get the hot water out of the hot water dispenser. Hot water dispenser is a thing that has a tank under the sink, and there's a faucet, and it dispenses water at just the right temperature for putting the 3 ice cubes in it. And you have to have a man come in and install it, and just to drill a hole in the stainless steel sink that replaced the perfectly good white porcelain sink that was there, and you fill it with hot water, and you take it in the bedroom, and you be careful and then you put the ice cube in it, and then you be careful walking in the darkened bedroom. You don't step on their shoes or anything that's on the floor, and you get to the side of the bed, and you go to the bedside stand. You don't look for a bare spot, you just look for a level spot. And you set the coffee down, and you sneak out of the room, and don't wake her, for God's sake, and hope that she wakes up before the ice cubes melt. And sometimes we've been up late the night before coming back from a meeting or something like that, and you think she might sleep a little later. Sometimes you can put the ice cubes in a little cheese glass they used to drink out of. You set that beside the cup, and then when she wakes up, she sees the ice cubes sitting there and they're not melted, and she will pour them in herself. She doesn't mind doing that once in a while. Yeah. Now that's the easy part. The hard part is you have to not expect her not to appreciate it. If you expect her to appreciate it, then that's not love, it's barter. And admit right off, Max is very cooperative. She never appreciates if they. Now that's true love, indeed. My problem. What was it Phil said last night? He said something about if you get a soft chair, an easy chair, and you sit down and start thinking about your body, you'll feel an 8-acre of pain. And I was thinking, think about your body. You don't have to think about anything. You just turn on your brain and start thinking, and you're going to start getting. I don't know how you are, but All I have to do to get in trouble is start thinking, and I don't even have to have a problem. Yeah. In fact, I can take any non-problem and get thinking about it. I can look at that and I say, well, then, hell, that's no problem. But if you think about it a minute, it could be. Yeah. Yeah. Well, very kind of thing. Yeah, yeah, it is kind of a problem. Just look at it a minute. Yeah. No, I'm thinking, no, and really, look at this. It is a bit of a pretty kind of thing. By God, it's a good thing I'm looking at this. Everybody else is missing it. Yeah. How are you going to not think about it? You look over there, and there it is. And you look over there, and there it is. You got this overwhelming problem. And it's hard to get rid of something like that. And in fact, I find that problems are like delicate plants. Something if you've nurtured and you cared for. A lot of water, a lot of fertilizer, and the problems are delicate. Have you ever had a problem that's such a work of art, such a beautiful thing, it's such a delicate thing, and you work so hard on it, you can't even go to a meeting that night? Somebody says, you go to the meeting tonight, you say, oh no, I've got to stay home and work on this problem. Yeah. You go off to one of those dumb meetings, you have to forget and not get back in time. So that problem is out of the wilt to the point where you can't even bring it back. Problems have a very high infant mortality. You can't neglect them at all. You stay right in there with them and work with them. You neglect them at all, the damn things just disappear. And awful. And you start all over again. I don't know how it is with you and your thinking, but when I think it's somebody talking. Talk, 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 talk. When I was born, they held me up and they hit me on the back of the head. Talk, 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 talk. Like radio talk show. Talk, talk, talk. Sometimes drift over and pick up another one. Talk, 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 talk. Yeah. It's just all the time. And my head is talking all the time. I thought you like I'm not listening. When you're talking to me, it's true. And it's not true. I'm listening, but I'm listening to all the people in my head. A whole lot of people that talk, 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 talk. Sometimes I go to meetings, drink too much coffee. You really talk, 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 talk. I go home, want to go to my body wants to lie down and go to sleep. My brain says, no, let's lay here and talk about that. Right in the middle of the night, I'll be sound asleep and they'll say, hey, wake up. We want to talk to you. Yeah, I'll say things like, that problem, that thing, the situation that you thought you handled so well today wasn't like that at all. They're really ticked off at you. Just wait till morning. Yeah. And you've done the same thing other times. You've done a lot of dumb things, as a matter of fact. You don't want to write your fourth step, my God, we'll sit here and take it right tonight, And so the night goes on like that. Talk, talk, talk. A lot of people live in my head. A lot of people live up there. It really helped me to find that out and divide them. And I used to fight them. I used to drink and take drugs and have to shut them all up so I could sleep. And that hasn't worked at all well because when not only do I have a lot of strange people up there, but that's also, it seems to me, that's where God is. He's among, or he's one of, or he's in the center of all those people. He's the center of calm in the very center of me. And when I shut them off, that's the same as shutting you off. It's the same as no longer coming to meetings, because that's how God talks to me, either through the voices in my head, or the voice that gets through when I'm sitting at my computer, or the voices in AA. And I can't shut them off, but I can't shut you. I don't ever intend to quit coming to meetings. That'd be shutting God's voice off. Because it's interesting to listen. What is the God speaking to me in an AA meeting? Is that the old timer? Is the newcomer? Is somebody in between? Is it before the meeting? After the meeting? Is somebody took to the meeting? Somebody took home? Was it when I'm cleaning up in the kitchen? Or whatever. The same with the voices in my head. I don't get mad at them anymore. I'm glad that you can't hear them. As I heard somebody talking about it at my home group last Wednesday night, and she said, it's a good thing I didn't have two loudspeakers on my head broadcasting all those voices in my head. That would have been tremendous if you'd have heard all the stuff that goes on. I'm glad it's not that way, but I no longer get mad at whoever it is that's talking. Whatever they say, I think, well, thank you for participating. Now, if you'll sit down, we'll call on somebody else, Everybody gets a chance to participate. I And so my relationship with the people in my head, relationship with the people outside my head is getting better. My relationship with myself is getting much, much better. I haven't tried to think of a heroic way to kill myself in a long time. And my relationship, as I say, with my higher power is better. And that's not, it's such a understatement to say my relationship with my higher power is better. I have a whole new higher power concept. And he and I have a tremendous relationship. We're friends today, whereas we used to hate each other's guts when I came into the program. Today, we're friends, and he and I get along fine. We play a game. We play a game. Somebody said that the only God is reality. And I thought, God, what an atheistic statement that is. And yet I thought to myself, I thought since, that God creates reality. Reality is the manifestation of God. I haven't seen any burning bushes, but I've seen this place. Easy to see this is the manifestation of God. Easy to see that you are manifestation of God. But God, the closest I can get to God is His reality. He creates that reality. In fact, it says in the Bible, I think, I'm not much of a student of the Bible, it says that God created all this in, the 6th day. And the 7th day He rested. To me, it was implied, but not said, that on the 8th day He went back to work. He's been creating more reality ever since. He's been creating more worlds. My understanding, this whole thing, this infinity is, and all that we see here, it's expanding at the speed of light in all directions. More stars, more galaxies, more everything. More people. My God, we don't know how we're going to feed them all. There's apparently God, the Father, talk about a workaholic. He meant the more of these, the more of those, more of everything. And he's just gone nuts making more of everything. That's why he had to have his son come along to help manage some of this stuff. He's just making more stuff and making more stuff. And he creates reality. He creates my day. Now, what do I do? I create my attitude toward it. He creates the reality, and I create my attitude toward that reality. And between the two of us, we decide whether I'm going to have a good day or not. And he doesn't change the reality just because I object to it. Nothing's changed just because I don't like it. Nature asks me at every moment of every day, what role do you want to play in your life today? You want to be victim? You want to be hero? I was victim all my life before you found me. And today I can play a leadership role. I can play the hero role in my own life. I have to be the victim. Anytime I am the victim, I know that I've chosen that role. I've chosen that role. God and nature are not against me. They're for me. Everything is meant for us to enjoy. There's a line in the book that says that. As a matter of fact, I was looking at a line the other day, somebody pointed out to me, it said, when the spiritual malady is overcome, we straighten out physically and mentally. Spiritual malady is overcome, we straighten out physically and mentally, which means to me that all I have to do is get right with my higher power, get right with my God, and everything else will fall in place. And that seems to be pretty much what's happening for me. It's all falling in place. The line I was talking about there's a lot of lines in the book. One that really fascinates me is the one that says, our past becomes our most prized possession. Isn't that weird? The thing that's been all my life trying to hide, keep hidden, becomes the only reason I'm standing here. If I didn't have that, I wouldn't have been invited to be a part of what you're doing. I wouldn't belong in what you're doing. Our past becomes our most prized possession. The things I hated most about me, things that have gotten me where I am today. And in fact, there's this business of God creating reality, and in me having an attitude toward it. When I find fault with you, when I find fault with me, I'm complaining about God's handiwork. Even when I complain about my shortcomings, it's not up to me to root them out with willpower. It's up to God to take care of them. Up to me to be willing that He take care of them. Up to Him to do it. If you don't like what you see, I know who you ought to go complain to, not me. And I have it. I enjoy the program. I enjoy. And well, the line I started talking about was there's another line I like is the one that says we absolutely the line that says we cease fighting everything and everybody. Does it in two places. One of them in italics. I guess they wanted to stress it. We cease fighting everything and everybody. If I'm fighting anything or anybody, including myself today, I'm not working a good program. The line I was talking about was on page 132, right in the middle. 16 lines above it, 16 lines below it, 2 words before, 2 words after it, right in the middle, very middle, says we absolutely insist on enjoying life. Isn't that a strange sentence to have in a textbook on how to recover from a terminal illness? Never in any textbook I ever studied before I got here. We absolutely insist on enjoying life. And I find that that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to enjoy this life. It seems to me that I don't have to be happy, happy, happy all the time. But if I'm not enjoying life, I'm not doing it right. If I'm not enjoying this program, I'm not doing it right. If I'm not enjoying my sobriety, I'm either not doing it long enough or I'm not doing it right. I have a great relationship with my higher power, and it's not his fault if I don't enjoy it. It's mine. I In fact, my higher power is working so well with for me that he say it's become kind of routine, and he's not really busy. One of the things is I don't give him a list of things to do, and a list of things that I want to be sure and not let happen today. I kind of let him on his own. In fact, a lot of people. I'll say this, and I'm going to sit down. I'm going to force myself to sit down. So help me God. Uh, that he People say they don't know how to find God's will. I found a way that works real well for me on a day-at-a-time program basis. In fact, that's the way I stay sober. I just don't drink today. I used to drink many yesterday, and I'm going to drink tomorrow, but I don't drink today. In fact, I wouldn't be able to not drink today if I didn't know I was going to drink tomorrow. But when tomorrow gets here, I'll check the time. If it's today, I won't drink today. The And the way I find God's will for me is I give him a day. I tell him in the morning, okay, God, here, you take this day. You just take this day. I'm not going to tell you anything to do with it. You're on your own. Do anything you want. Come into my life today, whoever you want to come in. You have them say whatever you want them to say. You have them do whatever you want them to do. You have happen whatever you want to happen. You just take the whole day and do anything you want with it. And whatever happens, whatever people say, whatever they do, I'll know that's your will for me this day. And it scared the hell out of me the first time I did that. And yet, whatever that day, and then if I don't work it out well that day, I start over and do it over differently the next day. And this is the land of beginning again. If we don't like our life, we just start over. We just start over the next day, or we draw a line and start over right then, start a new day. The land of beginning again. We always live our lives over right if we don't like the way it's been going. And if you don't have a higher power that you've been working with like that, use mine. Use mine. He got a lot of free time now. He does. And you don't even have to ask me about it. Just go ahead and use them. Tell him I sent you. And if it doesn't work out, let me know about it. And I'll speak to him about it. But other than that, I won't. But I think the whole thing, I think, is we're supposed to enjoy sobriety. Sobriety was meant to be enjoyed. Life was meant to be enjoyed. And it just seems to me we should enjoy life whether we like it or not. Thank you all very much.